हरि ओम। सुरासुर सेवित पाद पंकजा करे विराजत कमनीय पुस्तका विरिंचि पत्नी कमला सनस्थिता सरस्वती नृत्यतु वाचि मे सदा. So I thought I will take you to the Devi aspect, the concept of Devi, right from the Vedic times till the Puranic times, the culmination of which happens in Saundarya Lahari, Ma Lalita Tripura Mahatripura Sundari. I'll straightway come to the concept. Otherwise, explaining the three verses of this invocation will take more time. So, concept of Devi. What is Devi? Root Diva is to shine in Sanskrit. Root Diva is to shine, and therefore Deva, Devi, and Durloka or Divaloka. That is a shining word. Okay, so this is the shining thing, the bright thing, the energy, which spurita hoti hai hum sab se. That is the shining. Shining is not the light. Shining, that which gives you energy, that is shining. Okay, so this is the energy. And man by nature is the worshipper of energy. Once Swami Vivekananda ji said that Brahman, is described as in neuter gender, Tad Brahman. Only when you say Atma, it is masculine. Atma or Paramatma are masculine. But the word Brahman in Sanskrit is neuter. Na stri, na puma, na kumara, utava kumari. That is the description. And therefore it is Brahman. So the highest being may be neuter, but when we think of energy, it has to be feminine. Energy is always feminine. Take all the words in Sanskrit for energy, they are all feminine gender. Nothing in neuter, nothing in masculine. Energy has to be feminine. It is Shakti. Shakti, why? From Shaknote he Shakti. Shaka is to be capable of. शक, मैं ये कर सकता हूँ, है ना? शक, शक, that is करू शकणे in Marathi, शकणे in Hindi, sakna. So that which can do is capable of doing. Kartum akartum anyatha va kartum shakti hi yasyaha sa eva shakti. So that is the Shakti form, and it manifests, Shakti manifests through various forms, and we pay homage to that form. So these diverse forms, some are like they are terrifying forms. Some are very benign. Some are very, terrible forms, ferocious forms. But some are very benign. So we will deal with all those forms in the afternoon session. So some are very attractive. Some are very repulsive. And some are animistic, some are human, some are demonic or divine, and all these give rise to different forms of worship. Now we start from the Veda. So in the inaugural function, I will have only the Vedic concept of the Shakti in different forms, how the Shakti gets revealed into different forms. So Veda mentions the spouses of the great gods. So when it mentions Indra, it mentions Indrani or Shachi. There is a special Shachi as a Rishika, as a Sukta Rishika, one who is the Drashta, one who has seen a Sukta. Shachi, Paulomi, Indrani. Okay? And Shachi is also from the same power, energy, Shakti. In fact, it is the Shachi which gives power to Indra to be victorious. So Shachi, Indra, Indrani, Varuna, Varunani. So these are the forms which we find in the Vedas. And then we have Vedic Saranyu or Saundhya, which is a very peculiar deity, the solar deity, Saranyu or Saundhya. That takes form later on into Maharashtra as Ranubai. And we have any Marathi people here? Aditya Ranubaichi Katha, Aditya Ranubai's Vrat, right? So Ranubai in Gujarat, any Gujaratis here? Randan Mata. In Gujarat, it is called Randan Mata. So these forms later on take different manifestations. But the same principle is there. So Saranyu or Saudnya, she is Radni, and Radni becomes Rani, Rani becomes Ranubai, Randan Mata. Then there are rituals also of that. I'm not going into all those details. And in the Vedas, we had Aranyani or the forest deity. So basically, the tree worship, the forest worship was the motive behind that. And we have Khodiyar Mata, Pimpalaj Mata, right? And then we say in the Shri Sukta, Athate Vrukshaha Bilvaha, Bilvothate Vrukshaha, right? For Lakshmi Mata, it is Bilva as the Vruksha. So Lakshmi is worshipped in the Bilva, or Lakshmi is at the roots of the peepal tree, and therefore people go around, P-O-P-L-E, go around, P-E-E-P-A-L, peepal tree, right? So people go around peepal tree for getting Lakshmi, for getting Santana, for the banyan tree, they do Pradakshina for the Santana, right? So these are the various forms. I mean, the basic nature changed as the time passed on. So from Veda to Puranas, we have various manifestations. The first and the foremost is the articulated speech, Vak. We have a complete Vak Sukta in the 10th book of the Rig Veda, 10th Mandala, we have a Vak Sukta. It is available on YouTube. My Vak Sukta is available on YouTube. So that Vak becomes Saraswati. And there in the second Mandala of the Rig Veda, the seer, Gritsamada, worships this Saraswati as Devitame, Naditame, Ambitame. She is Devitame, the best of the goddesses. Naditame, the best of the rivers. And Ambitame, the best of the mothers. So, Saraswati as Vak, as is the goddess, and Saraswati as a river also, the water principle gets apotheosized, that is personified and then deified later on. So first you take some abstract principles, start worshipping them, then make them into person. If it is energy, feminine. If it is something else, then it is human being, the man I mean. And then man and woman, you personify first and then put the deity aspect into that. That is called deification. Very nice Greek word for that, apotheosis. Theosis, theology, it's all regarding God and godliness. Theist, we say, I am a theist, you are atheist. So theos is faith in deity, right? So all this comes together. Now we start with the Saraswati, of course I said, but Saraswati comes into the river part of also, so I'll take it later. Usha, the early dawn. Usha. Ushas is from root vasa, to shine. One who brings the first ray of light. That is the first ray of hope for us. The night goes and it dawns. Early dawn. She is equated with the Navanavaunmesha Shalini Pratibha. She is equivalent to Pratibha. Pratibha is the ingenuity and the genuine intuitive power of a seer. Okay, that is Pratibha, which is called, very nice word Sri Ramanujacharya uses, is Shemushi. First Sh is Talavya, the last Sh is Murdhanya, Shemushi. Shemushi is Pratibha. So Ushas is the early dawn, the friend of all the people, and a shining female deity. She rides a chariot which is drawn by either mares or the swans or the cows. She is Gomati. Gomati. Go, the cows. Go also means the rays. In the Nirukta Grantha, Rashmayopi Gavaha Uchante, Yaska says. So go means rays of the sun. So she first brings the first rays of the sun. She is Purani Devi, but still Yuvatihi. She is the ancient most, but the most lovely and the most energetic, youthful lady. There are beautiful descriptions of Ushas throughout the Vedic Suktas. I may tell you one thing. In the Rig Veda, the Vishnu Sukta are only 3. Ushas Sukta are 64 or something. Usha is glorified more. Vishnu or Shiva, they get later on after the post-Vedic period. Now, this is academic talk, okay? So, Purani Devi Yuvatihi Purandhihi Anuvratam Charasi Vishwavara Maghoni. She is a bounteous donor. She gives in abundance to us. Indra is called Maghavan, the bountiful donor, and Usha is called Maghoni, the donor in the woman form. This charming lady is exalted for her donorship, for her charity and her loveliness. There are beautiful descriptions. This I am not doing Usha's Sukta here. So this is Usha's. Then we have Ratri also. Usha and Ratri are like two sisters. Behne hai dono. Ratri is the elder sister. Usha comes later. Ratri is the elder sister. Usha, because Usha lasts only for few hours, few minutes. Ratri is spread out, Triyama Rajani, at least 8-9 hours. So Ratri is the elder sister. Okay. So now this Ratri, they are both opposite in nature. Two sisters can have opposite nature. I have a sister, we are opposite in nature. So two sisters can be opposite in nature. So she is Ratri, the phenomenon of night, but it is not a dark night. It's a starlit night. It's a starlit night, and she as if sees with so many innumerable stars which are as if her eyes. So Ratri is not a thing to do whatever you want to, because she is watching with thousands of her eyes there, right? And Ratri Vyakhyadayat Ayati Purutra Vishwa Adhishriya. With all her grace, she graces and she blesses the humankind and all the animals and all the beings, because that is the period for resting. Why she is called Ratri? Ratehe Dana Karmanaha. The root Ra in the Rigveda is to give. And therefore we have the word Rai, Agnena Yasupatha Raye Asman, right? Rai, Raya. These are the words for wealth. So Ra is to give. Ratehe, she gives. What does she give? She gives rest to all the beings. That is one. Yaskacharya in Nirukta, everywhere Nirukta has to come, okay? So those who know me, they know Nirukta has to come. So Ratehe, what does she give? Another thing is Avashyayaha Danat. Avashya is dewdrop. They come invariably at the end of night and at the break of Usha. Dewdrops. And when the dewdrops are dancing on the blades of grass in the early morning, if you go for a walk, how cheerful you feel. Avashyayaha danatvat. Danena ratehe. So that is why she is called Ratri. She fights darkness with the luster of the stars and the moon. Okay? Jyotisha badhate tamaha. So Ratri is not a dark Amavasya night. It's not a new moon night. Ratri for the Vedic seers is one which removes the darkness by the Jyotish, that is the light. And that light is of the nakshatras, the stars and the moon. So this is a starlit night which we have. She is, very beautiful imagery, the Vedic Suktas. Ratri Sukta comes in the 10th mandala of the Rigveda. She is a weaver girl. She weaves a cloth. When somebody is doing some embroidery, not a machine embroidery, hand embroidery, you spread the entire cloth like this and you go on, putting the threads and all that thing. Embroidery, if you have done some little bit, at least kerchief, then you know. So kerchief is a small square, but here is a big cloth, the entire, the universe, the sky, the canopy of sky is the cloth, the black, dark cloth. She is weaving what? Embroidery of stars, embroidery of nakshatras into that. What a beautiful imagery. And she has spread the whole thing, here is lying the thread, here are lying the needles for that, and the entire cloth is sprayed like that. And then there comes the Usha, her younger sister, who is the harbinger of Aditya. Aditya will be coming soon. Then she has to withdraw all things, fatafat. That is the imagery of Ratri. She has spread the entire cloth of the dark cloth for weaving, and the moment her younger sister comes, she is very naughty. And then, because she brings Aditya also behind her, and then the Ratri withdraws all things and just silently passes away. You can visualize, right? Two weaver girls exactly sitting there. She is bringing all the bright colors and she is bringing only white color on the black cloth. In Maharashtra, during the Sankranti, they wear Chandrakala, which is a dark sari with tiny white spots like nakshatras. So whenever I see Chandrakala, this is the Chandra and the nakshatras woven there, nowadays printed. So for the first Sankranti after marriage, a Chandrakala is to be given to the bride, to the newly married woman. It's dark cloth with white embroidery on that. So that is the imagery of Ratri with us. And they are, the charming ladies, both Usha and Ratri. And we have a dual divinity, Ushasa Nakta. Nakta is Ratri. Ushasa. Usha is Usha. So Ushasa Nakta is a dual divinity in the Rigveda. Now we come to the Ap Tattva. Apaha, that's a feminine thing. Apaha is a feminine gendered word in Sanskrit, right? Apaha is feminine word. So it could be a pure water. Pure water is the rainwater which falls directly from the Parjanya Devata, from the sky, governed by Indra, okay, and carried by Maruts. So it's a rain phenomenon which is, assisted by so many other male deities. All male deities help the female divinity to pour down and bless the universe, right? So Apaha is being assisted by Indra as the head. Then the clouds, which are his Adhikari Purushaha, Kamarupam Maghonaha, Prakriti Purushaha, as Kalidasa says in Meghaduta, right? Jatam Vanshe Bhuvana Vidite, Pushkara Vartakanam, etc. And then they are carried on by Maruts, the winds. So many gods are there. So this pure water, which is Pavaka, which is Jivana, which gives life. It is the very life of the beings, the living beings, not only human beings, all the living beings. And then then it is the flowing water, which is in the form of streams, in the form of rivers. So rivers are deified. First, the waters are deified. There are Apsuktas. There is Aponaptriya Sukta, Apam Napat Sukta. There are too many, deities revolving around the water principle. Water, I tell you, is the most essential principle for the survival of the beings, and that water gets stored in that Megha, the cloud. Unless the cloud bursts open, the water will not fall down. And unless the water is falling down, there will be no chances for the beings to consume it and live, right? And therefore this Megha is seen as someone who encompasses all the water treasure into his belly. He doesn't allow it to fall down. And there comes Indra, the warrior god. He smashes that Megha with his Vajra, which is lightning. The cloud is burst open and the water pours down. So the rain phenomenon is visualized, is dramatized, is mythosized as Indra Vrutra fight in the Vedas. So who is Vrutra? Ko nama Vrutraha? Megha iti nairuktaha, tvashtraha, suraha iti aitihasikaha. That is what Yaska says. For the etymological purposes, Megha is, Vrutra is Megha, the cloud, who amasses all the water force, and Indra is the one who releases all the water. Just take this imagery. This you can see in all the fables and the fairy tales. This Megha is something like an asura, somebody like a giant, a Rakshasa, who kidnaps a beautiful princess and keeps her Sat Samandar Par in some castle, right, which is not accessible very easily. Then the hero comes tuck, tuck, tuck on a horse and he goes there, sometimes on a flying carpet, sometimes on a flying horse, right? All these fables, we have read all these stories. We grew up reading all these stories. So behind all that, this is the motive. Water is so precious. So a princess who is so precious, so loving to the king, she is being kidnapped, she is being abducted, and she is kept in the prison. Some hero goes and releases her. So treasuring something, amassing something, not allowing it for others' benefit is the devilish principle, and some hero has to emerge. So these are the hero myths, hero narratives. All over the world, we have a similar concept in the stories. Okay, so water is that. So therefore, waters are striyaha. Dasapatnihi ahi gopaha. Ahi, this Vritra, the cloud, looks like a giant python in the sky, like spread all over the sky, like a big python, a dragon. And he has Dasapatnihi, these are the patnis, these are the wives of the Dasa, the poor people, and he has captivated them. And Indra goes and releases them. So Krishna later on releasing the 16,000 girls from Narakasura is also a transference of the same motive. So there are few motives and they later on get converted into certain stories and imageries. And this goes on and on and on. Okay. So that is water. So rivers are the flowing waters. Now Ganga, we have mention of Ganga only once in the Rigveda. In the 1075, 10th Mandala, 75th Sukta is the Nadi Sukta. Only one reference to Ganga. Who then pervades the entire Vedic scripture is Saraswati. Maho Aranaha Saraswati. It's a giant stream, unstoppable. Saraswati, when she flows, she cuts down the boulders, which come on her route and smashes them and flows vibrantly, vehemently. That is Saraswati. Okay? And all the Vedic sacrifices took place on the banks of Saraswati or the confluence of Drishadvati and Vitasta and other rivers. Okay? So they are also deified. And there is a beautiful sukta in the third mandala, Vishwamitra mandala, Vishwamitra Nadi Samvada Sukta. It's a dialogue hymn between the seer Vishwamitra and Vipat Shutudri, two rivers. Vipat and Shutudri, two rivers. Shutudri is Satlaj, Vipat is Vyas Nadi, that is Vyas today's. So very beautiful, and they are compared, like mothers. So Vishwamitra goes there, the rivers are in floods. Vishwamitra has performed a sacrifice for Bharata Sudasa, and the king Bharata Sudasa very generously has gifted so many chariots, horses, so much of bounty to him. The carriages are there, the bullock carts are there, and he has to go across this confluence. The rivers are in flood. How to get across? So he just prays them, oh, please give me some way, be fordable and flow little low so that I can easily cross. Your water should not reach the harness, the pivot of the chariots and the carts. Otherwise, the bulls and the horses will be swept off in your flow. Oh, mothers, please, you flow down. And then first they say they are hesitant. They say, no. Indraha asmakam patha aradat. It is Indra who carved out our path. He is our commander. Unless we ask him, we cannot, pay any heed to your request. But then he pleads and pleads again and again. And then they said, okay. And then they bend down like what? Pipyaneva yosha maryayeva kanya. Like a mother who is suckling the young child, she has to bend little low, suckling her child to the breast. She is breastfeeding. How she will bend little low? Similarly, the rivers bent low, and then Vishwamitra could go across. So that motherly aspect is there, and that is how we call Devi Sureshwari, Bhagavati, Gange, all mothers, Narmada Maiya ki Jai. All the rivers are mothers for us, and therefore Narmada Maiya ko sari pehnate hai. Maine dekha when I went in last February, I saw in the Narmada Mahotsava, Narmada Jayanti in February, I saw from this end to that end in a boat, the saris, the cloths are orange cloths, red cloths, they are carried from this shore to that end, in a boat, and that is sari pehnana nadi ko. What a beautiful concept. Do we find such concepts in other civilizations? Water is there. All civilizations survived and flourished on the banks of the rivers, but it is only in Bharat that rivers are called as mothers. And we have Oti Bharane. In Maharashtra, we have that Oti Bharane. We give green bangles, the green sari, and haldi, kumkum, mala, and betel leaf, and all that. Whatever is the Saubhagyavati Lakshana, all that, those things we offer to the river. In Maharashtra, in Satara, there is a confluence of Krishna and Koyna at Karad. I have been to Karad multiple times because I have my relatives there. So we go there, and Krishna Mai, we worship there, and we offer all these to the Krishna Mai. So this particular thing, they are looked upon as mothers, because mother is the most precious human being created by that Shakti only. Striyas samasta tavadevi rupa. Vidyas samasta tavadevi rupa. When it comes to the Saptashati Patha and all that, we do the Patha and do Havana, but I'll take that in the afternoon session, the goddess and the women. So many things are there. So it is purity, it is sanctity, it is creativity. Water is the most creative principle. According to the modern science also, water is the most creative principle. And we have in the Rigveda, the Nasadiya Sukta, which starts with the water. Tamasit tamasa guldhamagre nasadasid no sadasid. And then there is unfathomable waters there. And from the waters there is something abhu, something which is bringing up, emerging up. And that is how the Srishti started. Abhavanashilam. So purity, sanctity, creativity, efficacy. In olden days we have in Mahabharata and Puranas, etc., some Rishi getting angry and cursing somebody. What he will take in his hand? Water. He will utter the curse and throw the water. It becomes Udavajra. There is a word coined for that. It is as fatal as Vajra, but it is watery Vajra. Udaka is water. Udavajra. So all these things are there. Then we have the concept of Tirtha and Tirthankara. So much to talk about only this water principle, right from Veda to Puranas, right? So this is Tirtha, the Tirthankara of the Jainas. Tirtha is something which is affordable. Tirtha, Tartum yad yogyam tat tirtham. The place where you can get across the other bank. That is called Tirtha. So we have so many shrines on the banks of the rivers. We have maidens, we have mermaids, we have dancers, we have mothers and goddesses. And because it is all habitated by the godly principle, there are certain taboos also. Na nagnaha snayat apsu. Na mutrapurisham kuryad apsu. You should not urinate in water in the rivers. You should not have nude baths in the rivers, because there are governing deities of the waters. And that governing deity's principle is later on transferred to Apsaras. Apsaras we loosely translate as nymphs in English. That is not a true translation. Nymph is something, like a mythical figure. But Apsaraha, Apsu, Saranti iti Apsaraha. These are the water divinities. You know the Yaksha Prashna of the Mahabharata? So the Yakshas and Apsaras, they are the governors of water. And if you know the Mahabharata Yaksha Prashna story, the Nakula Sahadeva went first to bring water, and some certain Yaksha, he is the guardian of that water reservoir. And he says, first answer my questions, then only you are allowed to touch the water. He could not answer. He didn't pay any heed and just put the water. He was dead. All the people got dead, 4 Pandavas. Then Yudhishthira came and he first bowed down. So you have to revere the guardians of waters. And therefore the Yaksha Puja or the Yakshini Puja or the Apsaras, Apsu Saranti iti. In Marathi we call them Sati Asara. Asara, that is the word in. So there are so many things. And in the Bhagavata, the Chiraharana Prasanga. And then Chiraharana, and then Krishna teaches them the Katyayani Vrata, and then only he returns the clothes. He is sitting there on the Kadamba tree. I mean, people take it only as like a romantic thing, It is not like a Draupadi Chiraharana. This is something different. The Gopikas are having nude bath there, and this is a lesson to be taught to them, Nagnaha Nasnayat. And therefore the Chiraharana Prasanga is there. Okay. And then they worshipped Katyayani in the form of Shakambhari, and then that comes in the 10th skanda of the Bhagavata. Then we have the Aranyani, the goddess, the forest goddess. The forest is like, the wilderness, very ferocious and terrifying, fearful aspect, right? Dense forest. Then you lose your path. You don't know where to go, in which direction to go, etc. But Aranyani, 10.146, again 10th Mandala Rigveda, very beautiful sukta. She is the mother of wild animals. Look at the concept. She is the mother of wild animals. If there are no forests, can wild animals survive? They can't, right? So she is the mother of wild animals, very fertile but uncultivated. She is not tilled. There are no human efforts there put. Okay? Uncultivated. She on her own injures none. She is also Shakti, a type of Shakti. She is a nourisher of the wild beings, the nocturnal beings. She is similar to Vanadevata. Later on we have so much concept of Vanadevata. So Jangal or Aranyani is another deity, and this is a eulogy or a praise of a goddess of the wild and the forest. Okay, she listens to the grasshoppers and the chirpings of the birds. In fact, when Vrisharavaya vadate yadupavati chichikaha aghati bhirivadhavayan aranyanihi mahiyate. The chirping of the birds is as if her murmuring sound. And when through the forest path the bullock cart passes, the bells in the bullocks will, while dangling with the gate of the bullocks, they will make sound. Aghati bhihiva. Aghati, that ghanta. Aghati bhihiva. Dhavayan, as if Aranyani also runs through the bullocks. When the bullock cart is running through the pathway, it is as if Aranyani also is running. With the chirpings of the birds, she murmurs. And with the bells, because they are running one thing, and they are dangling. The movement is like this. And therefore the bells are wildly oscillating here and there and making loud sound. And that is how the Aranyani is as if running through the forest. She allows all the cattle to graze. She permits the human beings to eat the fruits, the fallen fruits. You should not grab everything. Whatever is easily available, you should take that. The roots, the fruits, etc. She has her own sweet scent. She is very fragrant. If you go to the forest, Gahana forest, the fragrance which is emitted from the green leaves, the moisture of that, and a typical fragrance of the green leaves, that pervades everywhere. That can't be compared to any other perfume in the world. As we say, the petrichor or the mridgandha, we cannot replicate it in the artificial perfume. Similarly, this vana gandha, we cannot replicate it. So sweet scented and redolent, she is like a balm, a soothing balm. When you get weary, when you get tired, when you get disappointed and dejected, and you want to cry and lament, to be on your own self, with your own self, you just go to a solitary place and you feel so encouraged, you feel revived and rejuvenated, right? That is the soothing balm of the this wilderness or the forest or the secluded place. Aranyani, the etymology of that again, where normally people don't have anything which can give them enjoyment. Na ramaniyani atra sthanani vartante iti aranyani. It is not a pub, it's not a mall, it's not a theater, it's not a anything else where you can go and enjoy. This is something where you can't find any things to enjoy yourself, but that has its own enjoyment. The loneliness it provides, that is soothing, that is balming, right? So she is motherly, she is sustaining all. So this is the continuation of the worship of the she principle, the Devi principle, the mother principle as the natural phenomenon which are feminine in nature. From this we have got, this is part 1. This is now part 1. And then sometimes these spirits, these Shaktis, they get different shapes, different bodies, they are personified, and then they are gradually deified. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.